come you say you will when you won't? Oh baby, do baby when you don't. Let me know, honey, how love feels. Is the truth now? Is love real? Honey, don't.
Morning. I'm Tom Remington, and you're watching an episode of Open Air with Tom Remington. Glad you could tune in. I have in my hand a pocket version of the Declaration of Independence and the United States Constitution, and I got that from the Heritage Foundation. You can get yours too, just get a hold of them. They'll give them to you free, but I choose to make a donation to the Heritage Foundation because of all the wonderful work that they do, and they need some help. The United States Constitution is something that every American should pay very close attention to. Unfortunately, they don't. Unfortunately, it's ignored in our education system far too much, and we're probably paying some of the price for not doing that. And it's probably a good thing for some educators, because they don't want to draw attention to the United States Constitution, because much of everything that we do in life today is a violation of our Constitution. And, a lot of people say, well, we have laws that say, you go back to the very beginning, and, a lot of the laws that have been made are contrary to what's written in the Constitution. And as a result, 2 wrongs don't make a right, or 3 wrongs, 4 wrongs. No matter how many wrongs you make, doesn't make it right. Wanted to talk about this document here a little bit this morning. Most people are aware, but not completely aware. Of course, in 1776, we signed the Declaration of Independence because the people that lived here were tired of the tyrannical government of the British Empire, and they wanted their freedom. They wanted to be a sovereign nation, so they declared our independence, and we fought. We went to war over it, and since that day, hundreds of thousands of American men, women, and our fathers, grandfathers, our children, our grandchildren have all given their lives for our liberty. And it's a liberty that in this Constitution does not grant us. It's recognized as a God-given right, and they recognize that, and that's the basis of the entire thing. Because without liberty, nothing else matters, really. From the time of the Declaration of Independence, when it was signed, it wasn't until 1791 that we actually ratified it was 1788 in June. Actually, it's June 21st of 1788 that we ratified our Constitution. Prior to the Constitution, we actually were operating under the Articles of Confederation. And, if you go back in history, the original colonists and the colonies wanted to maintain their individual sovereignty, and they insisted that we be a federation. And when the representatives from the colonies all gathered to work on what was called, we'll back up a little bit. In 1781 was when the Articles of Confederation were actually ratified by the colonies, and that was their constitution that they worked on. When they began gathering to rewrite this document, representatives from the colonies went there, and in this document it says, "We the people, in order to form a more perfect union." They didn't say, in order to change our Constitution, in order to change our union into a nationalist country. It was to form a more perfect union. And these representatives from the colonies went and gathered, and they were given explicit instructions from the people of their colonies to not yield to those who wanted to do away with the Federation and the individual states' rights, and therefore, we came up with this. So we had the Constitution was written, and then it was in 1791 that the first 10 amendments to the Constitution were ratified. And what most people don't realize is that when Thomas Jefferson was working, and others, not to leave them out, were working on the writing of the Constitution, which I say that was really, James Madison was very important in that, and James Madison was actually a mentor of Thomas Jefferson's. And there was some debate then whether or not there needed to be a declaration within the Constitution declaring the rights of people. And many people didn't feel that it was necessary. They all knew, they understood their rights. And but it was insisted that these amendments be added. At first it was, well, should we include it in the original Constitution? And obviously they didn't. They ratified the Constitution, then later on ratified the 10 amendments to the Constitution. What's interesting is, people had, our own president, Barack Obama, said that the framers of a Constitution didn't get it right. And he says this because he says that the Constitution is all about the things you can't do, and therefore they didn't get it right. Well, I couldn't disagree more. The framers of our Constitution, they knew exactly what they were doing, and you'll find in there that they had to spell out what the government cannot do, because they understood, they had experience, they lived through, the tyranny of governmental power and what it does to squash their liberty. And they were determined this was never going to happen again where they were living. Okay? And so, the Constitution recognizes that there are certain God-given rights, and among them is life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. And so, our own Constitution basically is a document telling the government what it can't do, and spells out explicitly what rights what powers they are given, which is very, very limited. And this was all part of the original, federation to maintain the state sovereignty and that sort of stuff. So we're going to be coming into an election year soon. And I'm asking you to make it real simple on yourself. Okay? Pick up one of these or go online, you can read the Constitution. And then ask yourself, everybody that's around you, everything that's a part of your daily, the news you watch, the information you get, the politicians you listen to, those who represent you in Congress, ask yourself, are they interested in what the Constitution says about my rights? My rights are guaranteed and they're acknowledged in the United States Constitution. That should not be taken away from me or anybody else. And when you get ready to go into the polling booth and vote the next time, you ask yourself, am I voting for somebody who's interested in taking away my rights, taking away my liberty, my life, and my pursuit of happiness? It's a very simple question to ask. Thanks for joining me. You go out and have yourself a nice day. We'll see you next time on Open Air with Tom Remington.